Hi, Teacher Holly here. Thank you so much for joining me for this little mini workshop on behavior and class management. We all know what it's like to be in that classroom when things start to go south a little bit. The students' behavior might be a little rough. We're having trouble figuring out what to do, how to handle it. In this workshop, we're going to talk about some very specific strategies for dealing with the different behavior issues that you might come across in the classroom. We will also share stories about what you faced, what I faced, how we dealt with it, what worked, maybe even more importantly, what didn't, so we can learn from one another. But to do that, we kind of have to first address what are the types of students that we're going to be seeing. Now, don't be offended. I'm not trying to put students in a box, but for conversation purposes, there generally are about 5 types of students that will come into our classroom. The first one, the ideal student. No need for a workshop about that one. Keep them. Do whatever you can to keep them. The next student is the one that is tired, and I'm sure you've seen this. Our kiddos who come into our classroom are actually very tired. They have spent a long day at school. They've maybe had other classes or other lessons, and now they are sitting with you staring at a computer screen. And you know how you get tired staring at a computer screen. So we might have tired students. It's not because they don't care. It's not because they don't like the lesson. They're just tired. Another type of student that we might encounter is the shy one. I had one of these just this morning, actually, in a trial, a little sweet boy who cried for 5 solid minutes at the beginning of the class. That's tough to deal with. That's tough to figure out how to handle that in the middle of the pressure of parents watching you and trying to figure out how do I engage a super shy student. We'll give some strategies for that as well. And then, of course, you have the bored student. And this is the student who they just don't care. And I get it. There's some things in life I just don't care about. And this student could be one of those apathetic ones, or they could be just finding this too easy. And so they don't care. The lesson may not be quite where their level is. And so they're bored. Or you could have the flip situation. It's way too hard. And so they kind of check out. How do you deal with a bored student? And finally, the last one is the one that we've all encountered, I'm sure. 99% of our students are awesome, and they do not fall into this category. But occasionally, we do have the blatantly misbehaving student because let's face it, being 5 can be hard sometimes. And so they are having a hard time behaving, and you're under pressure to make the class go well. You're becoming tense from their behavior. We'll talk about how to deal with that. But before we talk about these reactionary strategies, we need to think about what we can do proactively to help our students. It's kind of like that saying that says the best medicine is prevention. That's what we're looking at here. The best type of classroom management and discipline is preparing ahead of time, is being ready, anticipating. So we'll talk a lot about that. The first part about managing the class that is so important is that it actually starts before the student arrives. It has to do with being prepared and organized. And here's the deal. You and I both know the more prepared and the more organized we are, the better teachers we are. We are ready when that student shows up. And here's the thing, kids are kids everywhere. I don't know about you, but I know my own kids can tell I don't know what I'm doing when I don't know what I'm doing. Our kids in our classroom are the same way. When we aren't prepared, we're distracted. That causes them to be distracted and things don't go well from there. So that's the first thing. Here's a great part. GoGo Kid offers several workshops on preparation and organization to get some really good tools for that. Go watch those. Also, remember, you're in control. Hello, you are the teacher. I know it's intimidating. It can be, especially if the parent is sitting there, which they often are. You need to set that aside, teacher. And remember, you're in charge. You're in control of the classroom. And so you set the pace at the beginning. You set the tone. It is your responsibility to set the tone for the class and to expect and manage good behavior. So try to keep that in mind. And then, of course, be aware of where you are. And here's what I mean by that. When you're tired, you're probably going to have a little bit of a rougher class. When you're sick, you're definitely going to have a rougher class. When you've been through a long line of classes, you're tired. I put out of peanut butter, not because I care so much about peanut butter. What I mean by that is you're distracted. You have things about your other life that are on your mind. You need to be aware of you are and where you are and take that into account as you approach your class and approach your student. And we'll talk about that in our workshop because again, that classroom management, it kind of starts with us teachers. It starts with us. So Here are 5 key strategies, and of course, we will flesh these out in the workshop, but 5 key strategies for managing student behavior. And a lot of these work as a proactive and a reactive at the same time when you engage them properly. The first one is to build rapport, but building rapport, that connection you make with the student at the beginning of the lesson, doesn't just happen at the beginning of the lesson. You need to keep working on that rapport, that connection throughout the class, and that will help you manage the student behavior. The truth of the matter is, just like us adult people, the more connected we feel to someone, the more we will listen to them. And so when you connect with your students and try to keep that engagement strong and healthy between you and the student throughout the entire class, you have a better chance of them behaving well. Also, use clear, short instructions. We like to talk. I'm talking. I like to talk. We like to talk. The shorter the instructions, the clearer you are, the better the class will go. Because a student who is frustrated will probably misbehave. A student who is confused will probably feel anxiety and misbehave. When we keep it clear and we keep it short, the students know exactly what's expected of them, and they're more likely to fall in line of what we're wanting them to do. The next thing is match their energy level. If they are super shy and they're crying, no, don't start crying, even if you want to. Don't start crying, but pull it down. I had to pull it way down. I'll show you how I did that in the workshop. Pull it down. If they're kind of big and wah, you can be big and wah, except for a couple of times when the opposite is needed. And we'll talk about that in our workshop as well. When you kind of match and work off of them, it's dancing well with your student. And when you do that, the class goes way better. Also, be engaging. Let's face it, people, a boring teacher is a boring class, and then you have a bored student. And when kids are bored, things don't go well. So be engaging, switch it up, use different voices, use different props, try to get that student's attention and keep it. Again, not just at the beginning, but throughout the entire class. And then, of course, be patient and stay calm. So much easier said than done, but we'll give you some specific strategies for that. It is crucial that you stay calm. I have heard of teachers who, not necessarily here at Go Kid, but in other places, have lost their jobs because they did. They lost their temper in the classroom, or they lost a student because this parent could see the vibe and could tell that teacher was ticked off. You need to be patient and stay calm. I will give you some very, very specific things to do and think when this situation happens so that you can continue to thrive in your job as an online ESL teacher. At GoGo Kid, we want you to do well. We want you to feel great in the classroom. We don't want you to be nervous about that kid. I know it happens, but we want you to feel prepared. So I hope that you'll watch this workshop in its full entirety. You'll gain tons of great tips and tricks. We will share great stories, maybe a few horror stories. I might tell you a little bit about a student who spit at me once. Yeah, it happened. And we'll just talk about what works, what doesn't work. We'll trade tips. So I hope you'll come to the workshop. Also, please attend the other workshops. There is so much stuff out there. I'm not the only one that teaches this. Find someone else who teaches it, get their take on it. Attend the other classes about preparation and organization. Be ready. Have your toolbox set up so you can do well in your position. You will love your job more. Your kids and your parents, they will see that. They will see that you love your job and you're well prepared and you're well equipped for it. So happy teaching. I'll see you in the workshop. Bye.